Where did the virtual backgrounds go?
I have mine. What are you talking about?
I can't get mine. It says virtual backgrounds, none.
Well, welcome everybody. This is Tech Talk Thursdays with no one else than Neil Richmond, and he is going to talk to us about digital literacy to get us started. Neil, take it away.
All right, I just put into the chat, if you've got other questions you want us to jump in on today, feel free to add those into chat. We'll come back around on it. I've got a couple things to share today, but certainly if we've got other questions that have come up or you're wondering about, or maybe something we talk about generates another question, I'm happy to jump in on that today as well. So thanks for being here, everybody. I'd say let's go around and introduce yourselves so we know who you are, where you're from, and maybe just a little bit of what you're looking for today. Or sometimes I say, give me a score out of 10 on your digital literacy, right now. But, you can choose which question you want to answer. I won't draw any conclusions based on that. So who wants to start? Joan, do you want to start? Lead us off?
My name is Joan Davis, as you can see. I'm with the Marion Regional Career Center's Adult Basic Ed program.
Okay.
And I am here because I need to be here. And I will take any information about digital literacy that I can get.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Laura?
Sure.
I got two Lauras, so that's confusing. Laura P is next on my screen, so I'll let you roll.
Sure. I'm Laura Preby, and I am with River Valley Resources, River Valley Reads in particular. And I live in Lawrenceburg, which is in the very southeast corner close to Cincinnati. So, and I feel like I am pretty tech savvy. So, I don't know. I'm not going to give myself a 10.
All right.
But I'll give myself a solid B+. I'll give myself an 8.
Okay. Good. Any specific things today you wanted to dive in on?
I just want to see what you got to say.
All right.
I think I can learn.
I want to see what I got to say as well. So, yes. So Laura Smart, our El Presidente.
El Presidente.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just hopping on my digital literacy. It's pretty decent. And I'm just always looking for something new to learn. So I thought I'm going to hop on there and see what he has to say today.
Yeah, well, me too, right? As I said. So yeah, we're glad to have you here. Thanks for joining us there. And it's Janet, right? Yes. I see you just switched it, so I would get it right. Welcome, Janet. Tell us, introduce yourself to everybody.
Okay, my name is Janet Geyer Moriarty, and I'm with the Kokomo program. My digital skills are not that great, so I'm always open to ideas, and I'm really working hard to skill up. So I'm here just to get any ideas I can get.
Great. Well, I appreciate you being here today. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
And like I said, if you've got questions as we go rolling through here, just pop them in the chat, and then we'll sort of circle back around on them, or Jen will wave at me to say, hey, go back and catch up on something, and we'll sort of work our way through it and that. So I'm going to start with that question because we've been asked that a number of times, and I do get asked it often about, like, what should I know is really the question that I get asked more often than not. And I mean, there's lots to know. So what I've done is I've boiled it down into some essentials. And it's based on different roles that people have within adult ed. And that's the thing that I really want you to think about, because depending on the role you have, determine what's most important for you to know. And you know, I went out and I did some research on the internet about, you know, tech skills for educators and different things like that. And a lot of it relates to what you do in the classroom for students. And that's important, no doubt. But I feel as though in a lot of ways that's out of your hands. You know, devices and other things, you know, what technology you have in your classroom, that's sort of provided by the program or by the district or whatever that is, and they're there, and you often get training on those. I mean, man, I went to a training with one of our clients in January, and they've got some new smart boards in their classrooms. My goodness, I wanted to pack one of those babies up and stick it in my car and bring it to my office. It was so cool with all you could do with it and that sort of thing. I was like, you know, this is huge. But I could see how some of the staff were just like, deer in the headlights, because now we've got a new thing we have to learn, a new thing we have to, you know, get good at and all of that. And it's challenging. And so the one phrase that I'll say over and over again is practice makes perfect. And I know time is crunched on us, but any opportunity you get to practice some of these areas, the more adept you'll get. Now, for better or for worse, I spend 90% of my day sitting exactly in this spot right now, in front of my computer, answering emails, doing stuff on websites, you know, doing video calls, that sort of thing. So I'm stretching myself all the time with that. And you may not be in your particular role in what you're doing. So you've got to find other scenarios. And so I love to suggest sometimes that you partner up with another staff member and go through some stuff together. Or if using the, you know, technology like Zoom is a challenge, do calls back and forth, try different things, be the student, be the teacher on them, try the different techniques and that sort of stuff in advance. So when real life hits, you feel a little more adept at what you've got. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen with you and share. I've just got a Word doc with this. Jen, can you give me screen sharing, please? It's nothing real creative here, just a Word doc where I jotted down a bunch of notes of things that I thought were handy as we think about what that could look like. All right, let me find the right document. There we go. So you should be seeing my Word doc screen. Is that right? All right, great. So I've just entitled Digital Objectives for Adult Education. What do we need to know? And this is my opinion. So, you know, I may be wrong, but these are the things that when we work with adult ed programs, these are the things we see on a regular basis. And so I broke it down into 3 categories that I think involve digital literacy and that need to be thought about when it comes to that. Number 1 is the outreach side of the program. And I'm sure not everybody here is responsible for attracting more students into their program. It may not be your title, your role per se, but the person who does have that job, I think there's a set of skills that they need that are different than others. And so I want to talk about that for a little bit. Number 2 is what can we do to help students with their digital literacy within adult ed? And this has really become highlighted since COVID hit, and programs are unable to see students or as many students, and they're going to online options and different things like that. That's become a really big issue. And so I want to address that for a little bit. And then the third one is, what do teachers and staff need to know? And I'd be happy to take some input on this. I'm not saying that I've got all the answers and we can build this list out a little bit more, but these are the things that came to my mind as top of the list sort of a thing when it comes to that. So let's talk about the outreach side of adult ed. What skills are important? What do you need to know? for me, first and foremost, you need to know how to be able to manage your website. That's the number one thing on the outreach side of things. And that's a challenge for some programs. Some programs have their own website, which is great. Some have their website embedded in a district website. Some have just little fragments of things out there that are hard to manage. And I would say, number one, if you're involved in attracting students into the program, you have to have a really good handle on the website to be able to use that as a tool to set that up in the right way. Number two on that, and I'm not seeing, I'm going to try to pull up the chat so in case there's questions as I go through, I can see those as well. But chat sometimes doesn't work when you're in screen share, and it's looking like right now it's doing that to me. Oh, it comes up there. All right. So number two, I think, is some graphic skills. And I'm going to tell you, you don't need to be an expert graphic designer for this to be useful. But you do need to have the ability to go out and create images and things that are attractive to students. How do you do that? I think the simplest thing would be Canva, to use a tool like Canva. And if you are not familiar with Canva, it's canva.com. If I'm remembering correctly, my fellow Australians were the creators of that little solution there. And they've brought it online. But here's the best part of it. A lot of designs are already there for you. And you don't have to go recreate the wheel. And you can share designs with other people. So if you make something really cool, like a great ad, like for example, so for us, my wife is our graphics person. She does graphics for our clients and all of that. And we do a lot of posting on social media to attract people to offerings that programs have. And one of the things we're able to do is create a great little like ad on Facebook, let's say, and then share that with somebody. So they can take that exact ad as a starting point, change it out to fit their program, and away you go. And that is a tech skill, a digital skill that is needed today if you're in that particular role. So the next one would be social media. You don't have to be an expert at social media, but you do need to know how to use it in the best ways possible to attract students. And that starts with number one, being able to identify where are your students today? Where do they hang out? We find that Facebook is still one of the best mediums to attract students into programs, but Instagram is useful as well. The problem with Instagram is it doesn't play well with links. It's hard to link something from Instagram to a page to take a next step. And so it's good for branding and that sort of thing, but it's not so good for sharing links and different things like that. But Facebook is still great for that. And we love posting in local community groups. That's the big thing that I think is important there. And the other trick with that we've found out too is don't post as you, don't post as your program, post as you. Post as you as an individual sharing that out. Sometimes groups have rules about what you can and can't do. I suggest to people sometimes to talk to the moderators of that group to let them know what your objective is, that this is free or very low cost opportunities for adults to improve their life, and you want to share that. And most are pretty good about opening the doors for you to do that when you do it that way. Yeah, so Jen shared there, I've used Canva for flyers, but never thought of using it for a Facebook ad, yeah. Or just a Facebook post and then boosting it maybe as well. But there's so many great little things for that. We use it over and over and over again. I'll try to pull one up and show you some examples of some things that we've done there if we get some time for that. But that's a really handy way of getting the message out, and those groups are really good on that side of things. So what if we do it? What if we don't want our students to see our personal Facebook pages? And that's fine, totally. But you can still have parameters around your security and privacy settings that wouldn't allow that. But part of our approach that we usually use and recommend is somebody who's pretty open to wanting to share, because it's about building relationships through that medium. But I totally get that. If you want to keep the privacy side of things, share as the organization. We like to put a real person behind it. That's a big part of the strategy, the why on that. But that being said, I totally get it if you don't want to do that, and that's fine with that. We've even suggested that sometimes a program will create a fictitious person to be the face of the program as an account that you can use to post this sort of stuff on. It takes a little more skill then to log out and log in as somebody else and all that. I get that, but it's just a way to seem more human and not be an organization, but to be a person. And that's sort of the idea there. And then, yes, you can definitely, and I love that idea, post on your program's Facebook page, and then share that out onto your personal page to reach people. But the advantage of going into the groups and that is you're reaching people who you're not connected with. That's the goal here. You definitely want to stay in touch with people you do know, but you want to find the people you don't know yet, who don't know you, and reach them. So that's a big part of it. And again, I'm spending a bit of time on this, but right now for a lot of programs, finding new students is one of the biggest challenges they're having with everything that's going on. And so what can you do to facilitate that with all of that? Then the next thing I have on my list there is spreadsheets. And again, it's like a silly little thing, but we use spreadsheets all the time to communicate student leads and sharing lists with different people and different things like that. And I'm surprised over and over again that people don't know how to use a spreadsheet. And so I think that's an important component, whether it be a Google Sheet or whether it be Excel. Here's just one little thing that bugs me that I'll share with you. I get spreadsheets often from programs where the name field is one, and it's like last name, comma, first name. And I'm like, oh, because what I want to use to send stuff out needs that broken out into two different columns. And so it's actually not difficult to solve that, but I find that people don't even know it exists, that you can. So getting proficient at spreadsheets is important. There is a little thing you can run that will allow you to separate those out, put them into two columns, and you delete the original column. Beautiful. Just takes a few minutes. But that's the sort of stepping up the skill level that's important. Knowing how to share a Google Doc, open the sharing settings, and allow all the things that need to happen and all the people that need to use that. Or if you're a Microsoft program solution, how to do the online sharing of spreadsheets, different things like that is important. And I'm going to add to the next one on the list here that I forgot, Google My Business. We talked about this last month, and I made a post about it. If you didn't see it and you don't know about it, maybe Jen can share the link in the chat for you. But I went in, I showed you how to do this and how to make sure it's set up right, how to claim it, and then how to set it up so that it has all the elements that are needed there. But that's another important one as well, because Google's giving you a free opportunity to get the word out. And you don't want to miss that, especially the posts on Google. So, all right. So that's the outreach side. How are spreadsheets useful for outreach? Oh, my goodness. We use them a lot to share student lists and names with teachers or people in the program that need to follow up. We use forms to get our names in, and then we convert those forms into spreadsheets so that they can be communicated. And the challenge that we see is sometimes the people that need to handle the spreadsheet, next step, they don't know what to do with it. And so I'm just always trying to help people go learn what you can about Excel or different things like that, so you can sort it, so you can use the different tabs at the bottom, so that you can, like, here's something I saw happen recently. The sheet was sorted by name, but they didn't attach all the other fields. So the names and the phone number and email didn't match. They didn't know that there was a little dialogue came up and allowed you to keep them all together. And that's the sort of skills that I made. And yeah, that's within the organization typically. Yeah. So this is like going from, if you want to say external to internal, going inside the program now, with all of that. But it's about handling student inquiries and putting them in a place. So we 100% recommend to our clients that we work with, the programs that we work with, that you put all incoming inquiries to your program in one place. Don't put them in, don't have little sticky notes, or the receptionist answers the phone and has a little note here, and then this person talks to this person and somebody comes in the front door. We try to get them all in one place, so that way there is a master list at all times of students who are interested in the program. And that's really important on that sort of thing. So Jen's saying an example I'd give is a lot of programs use Google Forms on their website for people to inquire. And then those forms, they do go to a spreadsheet, and then nobody gets forgotten exactly with that. And we have some other solutions that we build in for programs as well that provide some other elements than Google Forms, what more than what Google Forms can do to handle that too, on that side of things. But you're right, a lot of people are doing that, and that's important to know how to access and take to the next level. All right, so let's jump to the next group, students. We have, in the last year, we have spent a lot of time building solutions for students to register with programs. So when COVID hit, there were needs. We built something to meet those needs. So we've actually tracked thousands of students through our program and learned a lot about student digital literacy. And that's why I wanted to share this topic with you a little bit, because we worked out that as young as many students are coming into programs, the expectation that they would know what to do was a very wrong expectation. And we got caught so many times. I thought without a shadow of a doubt, a student would know how to log into a website. But it's the number one question we get through our portals about logging in. So we address that and all that. So first thing that I think we need to help students with digital literacy is email. How do I access email? Because many of them don't even have an email account, I discovered, which surprised me. So we've got to help them, and I always just tell people the simplest thing would be a free Gmail account that they could use and then look at and set it up on their phone with the app and set up the notifications. So if a message comes through, they get it, they see it, and they can respond. So that's number one with all that. And number two, how to log into a website that has a password protected with all of that. May seem obvious, but it's not. And then that goes with number three on my list, resetting passwords. It's the most frequent question I get in any given week is, how do I reset my password? And just to the right of where the login is a little line of text that says, reset your password here. But students don't see it or don't know about it. And so we're trying to help educate them, because let's be real, the number of places these days you have to have an account is increasing only. It's not going down, it's going up. And they all pretty much follow the same set of rules. You have to have an email. You have to be able to check that email. You have to have certain combination of letters, numbers, and symbols on your password. And then if you forget your email or your password, you have to have you able to use the forgot password link to reset. So those are the things that I find are important to teach there. The next thing we discovered is really important for students to learn is how to upload stuff to a website. So if you were just wanting to do a lesson with students in a class, you could create a Google form and add some of these elements into it to show them how to do that. We ask in our portals that we make, we ask for photos, we ask for documents. And most of the times the students are on their phone. So we include a video and image directions to show how you actually do that on a phone. What do you touch? What does it look like? And that sort of thing, so that skill is learned, because that's only increasing as well with applications and different things like that. The next one is completing forms. That's another key thing. Things get skipped, and then when they go to submit, it doesn't go anywhere. Oh yeah, Laura, that's exactly right. A professional email address. Boy, have I seen some emails come through. Big booty 27 or whatever at gmail.com is their email that they're using in career training that will then go out to potential employers and things like that. So that's a great point. I love that. Yes, for sure. And I'll add to that, how to take a somewhat professional photograph. Because, in some of our platforms, we ask them to take a photo of themselves so that teachers will know who they are and what they look like and all that. And we get like these Snapchat filter pictures that don't hardly represent them, or it's sideways, or it's like, it's like half off the screen, picture of your ear type of stuff. And we get all these very, very bizarre things, and being able to just help students realize, no, that won't work. We need to see your face. We just need, this area right here, sort of thing, is important. And it's just another great skill that they can learn, because they will need to use it again. And the last one on my list for them would be how to use Zoom or Google Meet or online platforms. Again, there's students who are great with it, but there are lots who've never used it. And if you're doing testing with students online, you'll know that they have to be able to maybe use their phone and the computer and join simultaneously in different things like that. And it gets very complicated and complex. So testing that and running it with students and showing them how to use those tools is really important as well. So I think that's an important list of students for students of things that I think are vital right there. And then the last set is what I've experienced working with staff and teachers in adult education that are the skills that they need. And again, look, I know without a shadow of a doubt, a lot of adult ed programs have retired or close to retiring age teachers and staff members who the technology wasn't a part of their work life a lot before. So some of that's reflected in here a little bit. But, younger ones too have some challenges with this. So I'll go through the list again here. Using their email. Lots of staff don't look at email. Or not used to the platform that the school requires versus what they do on their personal level. So some education on that is really important. And let's be real, there are really two types of email you need to know about. You need to know how to use Outlook, or you need to know how to use Google's G Suite. Those are the two that are out there. There are other solutions, I know, but those are the two primary ones. And I don't know, I'd be interested to know, pop it in chat for me. What do you use? What is your program email system? Is it a Google one, or is it a Microsoft Outlook system? So what do you use for email? My gut told me that probably a lot of the state is Google G Suite, but I don't know that for fact. I'd love to know. So we've got a couple Googles there, some Outlook as well. All right, so G Suite, a lot of Google. I do know a lot of programs use Google. which is nice because of the integration and all of that. And I think they have a lot of nice, quick, easy solutions, but that's foreign to some people. So knowing that, you know, my wife especially has helped some of the older teachers in her program just know how to access their email when they're not at school. This sounds crazy, but we had some teachers who, when COVID hit and they weren't allowed into their office, assumed for months that they could not open their email until they went back to the office again. Did not know that they could go to any computer and open up their school email. That's a travesty, and that's a digital skill that needs to be mastered in today's age with all of that. So those are the things. The other one that tricks people up, especially Google G Suite users, is how they put the whole conversation in one stream inside the email. That's another skill that has to be mastered, because that just tricks people up every time. When you know it and you understand it, I think it's brilliant. When you don't know it and you don't understand it, it's frustrating. So getting some proficiency on that, learning about how it works, and sitting down and going through that is important. For teachers and staff right now, I think knowing how to use Zoom or Google Meet is vital as well. And earlier I said this, and I'll say it again. If you don't feel comfortable with this, do some trial runs with some other staff members. Get a group together, do calls back and forth with each other, try being the student and seeing what the student experiences when they log in, try being from the teacher perspective. Try, if you have it enabled on your account, breakout rooms. If you haven't tried that, it's a great little thing to have available to you. But test that, play with it, see how that works, how you would assign students and that sort of thing. Do practice sessions. If you run these, do practice sessions with your students. So some non-times where students can come on who don't feel comfortable and help them go through it all. You know, my wife does testing for HSE pre-testing and different things like that. And the number of students that show up and don't know how to mute or don't know how to use the chat along with, or other features that are built in, helping everybody know that is a very key ingredient to moving forward with adult ed today, I think. And it's different in Google Meet than it is in Zoom. So, you know, if you use both or use one or the other, you've got to be specific to that. How do you record a Google Meet? It's not as straightforward as Zoom, for sure, Laura. So here's what I've worked out. Your Google gave everybody the ability to record, and then late last year they took it away. And you have to have a certain type of an account, or else you don't have the recording feature anymore. So that's number one, is whoever administers the account has got to go look and see if they got to basically just turn a switch on. But if the account doesn't have it available, then that's a challenge on that side of things. And I'm assuming that's probably what happened, Laura. Is that right? You lost that feature with it and that sort of stuff. So I use Google Meet all the time. That's my primary meeting of choice. I don't have that. So I ended up upgrading our organization so we would have it, because it's important with that. Yeah, that's one thing. I use another piece of software called Awesome Screenshot. In Chrome, it's called Awesome Screenshot. And let me try to switch where I'm sharing from, and I might be able to show you what I mean here. And I didn't put this on the list, but I'll be real. This is actually something that's really important as well. Knowing how to use the tools that are out there. So you're seeing my Chrome screen now with 13 essentials. Is that right? Is that what's showing? Okay. So you see over here, I have this plugin to Chrome. This is called Awesome Screenshot. It allows me to take a picture of what's on the screen and then write notes on it. I use that a lot to communicate things with people. But it also has a recording feature built into it. Now, these are quick, short recordings. And then the other one that we like to use is called Loom. Have you, any of you seen Loom and used Loom? Loom was free for however long you wanted. And then they woke up one day and said, oh, not doing that anymore. You're going to have to pay after 5 minutes. So what I do is sometimes if I need to, I'll record a meeting using one of these external tools, and I'm just recording the window at that point as a way to record if you don't have another way to record. All right, I do see there's some chats here, so let me see. All right, so yes, Awesome Screenshot. So Awesome Screenshot is a Chrome extension. And so what you have to do is you can only use it in Chrome, and you have to add it to Chrome in order to make use of it. Loom also adds an extension, but you can use it without. So Awesome Screenshot, I'm not 100% sure if they have a limit on it or not. They didn't traditionally, but because others have gone to it, they might have as well. You know, again, we use it all the time in our business, so we have an upgraded account anyway on that side. But there are other tools like that that are out there. And I would just do a Google for like screen recording software and see what comes up and see which one might be the best. But you can record your screen through some of those mechanisms. That would be the trick for sure on that, with that. So anyway, that's another great thing to know what all you can do with that. So for example, Laura, if you're using Google Meet regularly, there are extensions in Chrome you can add that add functionality to Google Meet. In fact, I did a meeting earlier this week with some clients, and they discovered the backgrounds that Google Meet has, and we spent 5 minutes playing with backgrounds because they have a much better background setup than what Zoom has, and so forth there. Yes, I've heard of Screencastify, and I've got a feeling some of these guys have all gone to paid now. They've just, after Loom sort of jumped ship and said no more free, probably everybody just followed along with that. So if anybody does find a good free one that can be used, I'd love to know about it as well to be able to share it out. And I'll do some researching to see what also is available there on that side. So let me jump back over there on that, but thanks. That's good questions on that. Okay, so a couple other things here. Spreadsheets again, from a staff perspective, probably not from a teacher's perspective. A teacher probably doesn't need to mess with spreadsheets very much because they're going to get their students provided through other mechanisms, you know, a provided list or maybe from Inters or something like that. But support staff often need to use them, and knowing how to organize and sort and move names across. And with Google Sheets, here's a big problem that happens is people don't realize with a shared document that if you make a delete off of this document, it's deleted for everybody. So that's one challenge that skilling up on and understanding what impact some of those things have is important. One little tip on Google Sheets that I'll do like is they now track who's been editing what at different times. So you can go back and actually see who did it, if that's important. We don't want to be pointing fingers, but sometimes it's important to go, this person did it. So, you know, maybe we need to change them to view only and not edit with that. And Laura, yes, copying, making a sheet so that if somebody needs a version of it, they can make their own version and then make all the edits and not hit the original. That's another good way to do that with that. The next thing that comes up in my mind is using different devices. Having the skill to be able to go from a phone as a piece of technology that you may use to a computer, to a tablet, to a smart board, all these different things. Again, this is really important today because this is what's going to help things move, and especially at times when we're not sure whether or not, you know, there may be a mandate to, you know, one of our clients out west they've been told no students, can come in for the rest of the school year. So they are virtual no matter what. And so they've had to make a shift starting here in January that they weren't anticipating. They were thinking they would be able to allow students in. And now knowing that the devices that they were going to do things on have changed and different things like that, that's important to know. In Google Classroom, can you force or make a copy? But can you do that in regular? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, definitely you can. Because I get a lot of documents shared with me where if I want to read it, I can, but if I want to make edits, I have to make my own. And in Google Sheets, there's a section there where it says make a copy, and then you can sort of run it as your own from there. And then the last thing I'll say, especially as teachers and staff, is be open to students who are great at technology helping you. Because you probably have, if you're in the classroom on a regular basis, you probably have students in there who are really good at technology, and you have some that struggle. Enlist them to help you if necessary, and help some of these other students who are struggling. Some of them may not be great teachers. They may not be patient and be able to sort of guide that process, but some will be. And that is an important piece of the puzzle as well. So Laura, your question on Google Sheets there, I'm just trying to think if I can pull up something that might solve that. Let me see what I've got available here. I think you're seeing my Google Drive now, right? Is that right? Okay. So if I was to, I don't know if I've got anything here that's quick to edit. Come on. I guess I got to go into a folder here. So here's a spreadsheet. What I'm looking for, it'll say view only on it, right? So the ones that you can't edit will say view only on it. What I will do is I'll go down to file and make a copy. It'll ask me what to call the copy and where do I want to put it. And then I click OK. And I now have the exact copy of that is mine and mine alone, unless I'm leaving the sharing settings on. Does that make sense? Laura, did I answer your question on that? Okay. But that's how I sort of attack that. And then sometimes I will download it as an Excel, because I can take a Google Sheet and turn it into an Excel. Or on occasions, I might just turn that into a PDF at that point. So either way, it works to be able to turn that into something else. Just like I can turn a Google slide into a PowerPoint and vice versa, with sharing back and forth with that. Because sometimes you'll receive a document from somebody that's not in your preferred format. So you'll receive a PowerPoint from somebody and you're like, and you're going to go, well, how can I edit that in Google Slides? They'll convert to each other very easily. So you can download a slides into a PowerPoint and upload the other way as well. So that's important with that. Yeah, you're welcome, Laura S. there. Glad that we can help out to just sort of open the thinking on that, and have a good meeting on your Zoom and have a good week. Yeah, definitely on that. So yeah, so that's really the sort of the agenda I had. I had a few other things up my sleeve, but I'm not going to open that can of worms now on things there. So I will stop the sharing, and if there's any other questions you want to jump in audio wise, or Jen, there's something you want to jump into, we'll go for it, or we'll wrap it up at that point. Thanks, Laura, for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks for your questions. Glad that you're able to join us today. Janet, Joan?
Thank you, Neil. I've taken 3 pages of notes.
Oh, wow. That's more than I had to start with.
Well, I'm really a beginner on some of these things. So,
Yeah. Well, and if there's some you want me to dive in a little deeper next month, shoot them over. Let us
okay,
know, because I'd be happy to just jump in on one of them. If you
Okay.
know, I don't do I have Outlook on my machine, so I could show you that, but I do the Google email. But if there's a couple where you just want to dive in deeper on it and go, okay, here's what I struggle with, we can spend some time on that, because that's the whole point of this, is how can we help you with what you're doing? And probably if you have a question, there are others who have a question.
Okay, well, what comes to mind real quickly is we have been using Dropbox for
Yep.
several years. And then, they wanted you to pay money and for more storage. And so this year we moved everything to Google Sheets and Google
Yep.
Docs. And a lot of things morphed on their own,
Yep.
and we have to go back in and edit and those kinds of things. So once we get things cleaned up and work in Google Sheets, like everything looks the way we want, can we take it back out to work on? Because sometimes the tools in Microsoft Office Suite are much easier to work with, more
Yeah.
readily available than in Google Sheets and
Yeah.
Google Docs. And then bring it back in, or does it change every time?
Yeah, it's not as simple as that, I will say. It gets a little complicated. So what I do is I keep versions when I have to do that. So let's say you've this document that I had up, let's say I downloaded that into Excel. I made a bunch of changes. When I upload it, I'll put the date at the end of it.
Mhm.
So that way I know this was the most recent version of that. So the advantage of using Google Sheets is you can make updates and it will save across for everybody. The
Yes.
moment I download it out, it's just me. And so when getting it put back again is not as simple as just like replacing that file. Now you can upload it and delete the old one. That's okay. But
Okay.
by doing that, the sharing settings will change and everything. So
Okay.
what I recommend doing is stay on there as much as you can, where you have to get it out for different things. Like what I recommend is, like, if you're wanting to use a certain process, research up and see if it's possible in Google Sheets, like it was in Excel, or in Word, like it was in Google Docs, and see if there's an alternative way to do it, because that way you keep the integrity of that document. But if all else fails, when you upload it, just identify it as a separate document so people know that this is the recent one. And if you don't want them going back to that old one, then you need to delete it and you need to share that one with everybody that had it. Bit of a
Yeah.
pain, I know, but that's the process sometimes of making change.
We've learned all kinds of things and made all
Yeah.
kinds of errors and redone and
Yeah.
but it's, I'm sure, moving in the right direction. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
I still have Dropbox as a backup on some old stuff too, Joan. So I know it's hard to get rid of.
Well, yeah, and it was just easy because once you made like a Word document and it looked
Yeah.
the way you wanted it to, it didn't change on you. But going back and forth, some of the things that you have there do.
Mhm.
And so,
Well, the one thing I will mention whenever it comes to the Google Docs is, like, whenever it is an actual Google Doc, there is no limit on how much you can save in there, or if there is, it's huge. Whenever you upload a Microsoft document, it basically takes some of your storage space. So if it's a Google Doc, it doesn't count towards your storage space, but if it's any one of those other documents, it does. So that's another
Oh.
advantage of keeping them as Google Docs. That's something I learned a while back and find
Yeah.
it very helpful.
So,
because when I switched,
to be clear, there are two, when you upload it back again, there are two things you can do. Number one, you can upload it as a Word doc or as an Excel in Google, which is different than uploading it and merging it as a Google Sheet or a Google Doc. And that's a different process, but that's what Jen was talking about. That's how you manage your capacity and different things like that, by making sure it's uploaded as native, really a native application versus an external.
Okay. Well, what we did is I just took all the stuff I had in Dropbox and I just brought it over, and then as we needed it, we opened it up and then kind of modified it and then, saved it as a Google Doc.
Yeah. When you get deep into some different softwares, it's hard to get out of them. Like I use Dropbox so much that if I had to leave Dropbox, I would cry because it would take me so much time to get everything. I save nothing on my computer, which is great.
Yeah.
But the negative of that is it's all, it's accessible wherever I go. Great.
Right.
But if I have to make changes, there's a lot of pieces that have to be moved. So anyway, it sounds like you guys have got a good plan to get that rolled out. So it'll, over time, you'll get to where you need to be for sure.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks.
Well, thank
Jen.
you. Yeah.
Bye.
Well, that can conclude unless you have something, Janet.
Yes,
Oh, you do? Okay, go ahead.
Hold it. You went to mute on us.
okay, here we go.
There you
Okay.
go.
I was wondering if you could email that homepage you had. It was the 13 essential elements of effective homepage. Could you email that to us?
I'll put it into the chat for you.
Okay, great.
That'll be a future topic, but you're
Oh.
welcome to it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This is something that's on my website that I built and I share as we make websites. I put it in the chat there now for you.
Okay, thank
As
you.
we make websites, it's something we refer to a lot. And as we talk about it, because you don't want all 13 things, and not all 13 apply to adult ed versus a business or a nonprofit, but there are many of them need to be thought about in order to do that. So we'll actually do that on a future topic here, because that's something I'm very passionate about. I know not everybody else is, but I'll have my 5 minutes of fun with that. Actually, it might be
Janet,
more
you
than
don't
5.
have to write it down. You can hover over it and right click and then select all, and then it will allow you to copy it.
And paste it
Or
in.
or you can
Okay.
just click the link and it should open in another browser window, and then you
Yeah.
can, save it as a bookmark or something like
Okay,
that. Yeah.
Great. Okay,
Or
I know
feel
that
free to
is a
reach out if
tricky
you
thing.
need it.
Yeah.
okay.
Tricky
Thank you,
thing.
guys. All
Yeah.
right.
Thank you.
Anything
Appreciate
else?
it.
Last chance, ladies.
All
Oh.
right.
It's not the last chance. There will be a Tech Talk next month on March. It's always the first Thursday. Thank
Okay.
you so much for joining us. Let's give Neil a round of applause.
Thank
Yes,
so
thank you, Neil. And thank you,
And-
Jen.
And it will be posted on our social media immediately and a future blog. So thanks so much for coming.
All right, thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Have a good
Thanks.
day.